Start a Therapy Practice podcast, episode number 48. Hey, this is Scott Harmon. Glad you joined me today on Start a Therapy Practice podcast. Today I'm going to talk to Kat Fulton. And she's a music therapist, but she's also a launch coach. That's what I like to call it, a launch coach. She helps you launch whatever you're trying to launch. She's super motivated, and I think you're really going to catch that in this conversation. She's got a lot of energy, and you're going to learn a ton from what Kat has to say today. Be sure to check out her website at katfulton.com. That's KATFULTON.com, katfulton.com. Now, before we get to that interview, I really want to encourage you to go over to my website here in the next couple weeks. I'm doing a site rebuild. Well, I'm not doing it because I'm not that talented. So I have someone helping me do a site rebuild because I've got something pretty exciting coming here in the next few weeks. I'm super excited about. Really, I only get this excited basically when I have a new child. And if you've listened before, I've got a few children. And the build up to having that new child is super exciting. And then when that child arrives, it's just a little touch of heaven to me. You can't explain it unless you've had children. You get to hold that baby in your arms for the first time. And I'm always blessed to be really the first person, after the doctor, to hold my newborn child. And that really gets to me. And I can't quite compare what I have coming on my site redesign, but it's pretty special. It's not just really a site redesign. It's a super powered tool to help you start and then to take your private practice to the next level. I mean, it's actually going to give you superhuman power. So you definitely want to check it out. If you're listening in the future, this is going to be March when I have this new launch. So be sure to go over to startatherapypractice.com and see what I have in store over there. Super excited about it. Oh my goodness. My wife and I have been working hard on this for about the past 6 months. Now, a little bit about Kat Fulton. Kat is a music therapist. She's had her own private practice since 2006, and she also has a website for continuing education for music therapists. It's over at musictherapyed.com. And she also is a coach and helps others launch their expertise into the world. She's been quoted in the Wall Street Journal. She's got articles everywhere. And I think you'll get a lot out of this conversation. If you have any questions, be sure to email me at scott@startatherapypractice.com. Go over to katfulton.com and check out her website over there and her private practice. All of the web links that we talk about today will be over at startatherapypractice.com/48. And I'll also have all of Kat's social media connections so you can connect with Kat. startatherapypractice.com/48. And with that, let's get to the interview. Hey there, I'm joined with Kat Fulton. How are you doing, Kat? I'm super excited you joined me today.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here, Scott. Thanks for having me on your podcast.
And in the introduction, I had mentioned that you're a music therapist and you have a private practice and you're in San Diego. So I appreciate you taking the time out because I know all of us private practice owners are super busy. So definitely thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for you taking the time off as well. Yeah, we're kind of preaching to the choir when we say that. I'm sure anybody listening knows how many plates you got to be spinning at the same time and how many different hats you got to be putting on and taking off all throughout the day.
Never ends. It never ends. But that's a good thing. It helps pay the rent.
Absolutely.
I gave a little bit of background already, but I want you to let the audience know and myself, how did you first start getting interested in being a music therapist?
Sure. Well, I've always played piano. When I was a little girl, I actually grew up in a household that was pretty disciplined. So you come home from school, you practice piano for 30 minutes, you do homework for 30 minutes, and then we have dinner and, and have some TV time and whatnot. So very disciplined. And so I always played piano, always, always, always. I got into college and I had the decision to make, well, do I major in piano or do I major in chemistry or something else that really interested me? And so I had a scholarship, so I chose piano. And it wasn't until grad school that I found myself with a grand piano 10 hours a day, grand piano and 4 white walls about 10 hours a day, practicing. And I studied with this phenomenal concert pianist at USC. His name was Daniel Pollock, and he's a concertizer, plays all over the world. So it was a really great position I was in, but I was really getting burnt out emotionally. I was thinking, gosh, is this what life is all about? Is just preparing for this one big recital where maybe half of the audience members fall asleep? So I had to do some soul searching and Google searching in the process. So in 2002, I literally Googled careers in music, and music therapy was the first thing to pop up.
Ah.
Yeah. And I had no idea what it was, no clue. And I thought, music therapy, my parents would totally disapprove of that. I'm going to give it a try. So I contacted some universities that had music therapy programs, and this one had an assistantship to offer me if I came for grad school. And so that's what I did. I went to FSU. So I'm a Seminole.
Ah, a Seminole.
Yeah, that's the mascot at FSU. So
yes, it is.
So I did grad school, and I didn't really fall in love with the field until I started practicing, and until I did my internship and started doing some hands-on work, and realized just the power of drumming and rhythm and music and the brain and the neuroscience behind it all, So yeah, it's been my love and my passion. It's the reason I'm on earth. My big message is you are music, and it's an integral part of your health and happiness. So yeah.
I agree.
So here I am.
I agree. As we said here, my kids are upstairs, practicing music. And I said, it's okay if we overhear you, because I'm sure Kat would appreciate that.
Absolutely. Play away. Play away. That's cool.
They have one of them plays guitar, one banjo, and one violin. So they have a makeshift bluegrass band, I guess you'd say.
Hey, that's great. Well, you gotta get on washboard or spoons or something there, Scott.
I was thinking we need a bass. Okay. We need a big upright bass, just for the visual effect of it.
Yeah, you can twist it and twirl it around. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You guys would be a hit, especially in Arkansas. My goodness. Oh, y'all. Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah, do it. Get some contra dancing going on. Square dancing, all that good stuff.
Oh, they have a good time with it. Of course, you know how it is practicing. They're not always excited about the practicing, but when you get to perform and get up there and make people feel good, that's what it's all about.
It's really rewarding, I'm sure. Cool. Very cool.
So when you got into music therapy school at Florida State, and then you were doing some interning, at that point, did you realize, I want to have my own private practice? Or is that typical for music therapists as far as when they get out of school? A lot of chiropractors are like that. That's just the natural progression. You go open your own practice. Is that how it worked for you?
Well, I think it was a combination of a couple of different things. Not only was it the climate, the climate of the field of music therapy, but also I did an internship at a place that was a private practice, and I kind of did that on purpose, just so I could see the inner workings of a private practice and learn from someone who's out there doing it. So it was a mixture of both things. Also, I've grown up in a family of entrepreneurs and business owners, and I love it. I love it. Actually, in fact, I have a story when, as early as, I don't know, second grade or something, my dad would hire me to vacuum his office. And so I was always required to send him an invoice, and it was a $4 invoice for vacuuming his office. And I would always, I'd make a little special note at the bottom to make the customer feel special, and let him know about any little special things I ran into while vacuuming, or and then we would take the $4 check, put $2 in savings, and then take $2 to Toys R Us. And so so like I said, disciplined home. I'm really lucky, because actually I've grown up to be very creative and chaotic and not disciplined. So it's nice to be able to remember back and kind of tap into that disciplined side of myself when I need to. So it was a mixture of both, also the climate of the field of music therapy. At the time I landed in San Diego, there were no full-time, or maybe there were part-time jobs available, but maybe they didn't pay as much as I felt was worthy of someone with a master's degree and someone with my background and expertise. And so I decided to, what I did to pay the bills in the meantime is that I was a subcontractor for a few different agencies. And then outside of my daily work, I would market my private practice on the side. So that's how it all worked out. And yeah, it was good. That's pretty cool. So now at some point though, you broke away from doing the side contract work, or maybe you still do some, and then kind of went full-fledged private practice. Yeah. So it took me about maybe 2.5 or 3 years or something like that. I think it was about 2 years before I had enough direct contracts that were straight, flowing through my company directly, where I could pass on the subcontracting work to other music therapists or, give it back to the agency and say, thanks so much for the time that I've been able to work with you and your clients. I'm ready to move on. So yeah, it took a couple years. And I know in those couple years, I look back and I feel, I feel so much like, I guess I want to honor that time that it took for me to build up, because in that time I learned so much about marketing and sales and doing the elevator pitch of what music therapy is and differentiating between music therapy and entertainment. And, and it gave me all these wonderful opportunities to have the research at the tip of my tongue. And it helped me become the speaker that I am today. It helped me become the writer that I am today. So just trying to figure out, well, what's working? What are people picking up? What are prospects understanding? What are they misunderstanding? So very, very awesome time of my life, those couple of years. So when I decided to go, when I decided to give up all my subcontracting work, it was kind of like a leap of faith, because it's always like, okay, I'm going to lose a little bit of income here, but fortunately, because I had made so many contacts and I had done such great work in networking and making presentations and shaking people's hands and doing all the things you got to do, I felt very confident in doing it. I felt very confident that my caseload would shoot right up, and it did. And now we've got staff, we've got a clinic space, and we even have launched a products side of our company. So, it's all been a great experience. I'm very thankful for it.
Well, and I want to delve into marketing and then positioning yourself as an authority. But before we do that, I don't want to get too far ahead, because I want to stay here for a second and ask, you have other therapists who work with you, and you have staff helping you. Mm-hmm. So I always like to get into some nuts and bolts. How do you reimburse the therapists that work with you?
How do I do it? Well, basically, I have somebody on salary. I have somebody hourly, and I have a couple of subcontractors to fill in the gaps. Mm-hmm. And so, I pay. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you're doing each of, I think, of the possibilities there: hourly, salary, and contract.
Yeah. So, and I started out just having subcontractors because I didn't feel like I had quite enough work to add benefits and all the good stuff that comes with employment. And I was kind of thrown into this interesting situation where we launched the product side, and the product side is continuing education. It's musictherapyed.com. And in the past 3 years, there have been thousands of healthcare professionals learning how to use music in their practice over there. But when we first launched, I didn't know whether it was going to be a success or a failure. I had put $10,000 into building the thing out. And I had paid instructors and all this kind of stuff. So basically we recruit experts and authorities on certain topics, and then they create the course, and then we sell the course on our website. So I didn't know if it was going to be a success or failure. I was offered a job, a few months after we launched that website. And what I did is I took this employment opportunity. I hired someone full-time for the private practice. And then the website actually turned out to be a huge explosion of a success. And so that job at least gave me the confidence to hire an employee. But unfortunately, I had to, of course, let go of the job, because then I had to work on the website quite a bit. Does that make sense? So
yes, makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So I had that full-time job for probably maybe 5 months. And then after 5 months or so, I had driven myself crazy. And so it turned out to be really good, though, because I was the interim music therapist at this particular hospital, where someone else came in and just took over and went running with the program. So it was really wonderful. No jobs were lost in the process or anything like that. And I left on really good, healthy relationships and good terms and everything. So then I quit the job. I had a full-time employee, and, it's kind of like, all this stuff landed in my lap. And then this website really took off, and we've just been building up the private practice ever since then, and also expanding the product side. And it's been really good and exciting. It's, my web presence has really helped me build my practice and also establish myself as an authority within my field.
Well, and I do want to touch on that. But first, as far as that music therapy ed, it's musictherapyed.com?
Yeah. Yep.
Yes. So, and I didn't realize that you had created it, that was your product. I went there and it's very slick. So I commend you on that. That's a lot of work.
Hey.
Now, if that's targeted towards music therapists specifically, I assume.
So, everything I start out as an experiment. And the way we started this out was experimenting with the target market of music therapists. And it's turned out to be really, really successful and wonderful. We have almost 300 VIP subscribers. So it's a subscription-based membership site, but also you can purchase a single course. And so the way it works is that it's sustainable enough so that we can have a customer support person, we can have a director of operations, we can pay our instructors. We've paid out more than $20,000 to our instructors. And just in the past 3 years, actually I haven't crunched that number in a while. It's something like that. Last time I checked, that's what it was. And so, like I said, everything I started as an experiment, and branding is always ever evolving. So the next iteration of this website, we're actually expanding to serve other healthcare professionals. And there are a couple of courses that have snuck in that are tailored for counselors, MFTs, PT, OT, ST, nurses, all sorts of other types of healthcare professionals have taken courses over there. But so we're in this process of evolution and transitioning the site over to serve more than just music therapists. And it's a process, and we're kind of in the midst of that transition right now. So yes.
That's exciting though. Cast the bigger net. And help more people. That's pretty cool. So if somebody out there thought that they were an expert in a certain area and wanted to potentially have a course that they present on your website, is that possible, or do you seek those people out individually by yourself?
It goes both ways. So people often contact us and make a pitch for their course and send us a paragraph that describes their course idea. And then, we bring it to the team, and sometimes we get a course reviewed before we publish it. And then otherwise, sometimes we do recruiting as well. So we do a mixture of both. And yeah, I'm always scoping out leaders and, I guess upcoming experts, like people who are really, really great at their, craft and just about to launch or just about to be a keynote speaker somewhere, just about to, make their big splash. And so I'm always looking for people to teach courses, absolutely. But our space is definitely music and healthcare together. Yeah. So that's who we are. And, that's how we're doing it. So we've started by serving music therapists. It's been a huge success and wonderful and awesome experience. And, now we're branching into other vertical markets, so to speak. So yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, I encourage people to go check that out at musictherapyed.com because it's a nice looking site. So definitely, and I'll put a link in the show notes to that also.
Thank you.
Definitely check that out. You mentioned positioning yourself as an authority, and I like to always encourage people to do that. Mm-hmm. Over the years, what's been your experience with that? What pays off the most as far as trying to position yourself as authority?
Well, I think, being interviewed on a podcast sometimes helps, or, there are all sorts of different ways you can do it. I think media exposure is always great, but I also think that writing a blog is great. People get stressed when they think, oh my gosh, so not only do I have to do the bookkeeping, the marketing, the onboarding, the intake, the assessment, the documentation, the treatment, and you're telling me I have to write a blog too? What? Right? But in my experience, in teaching people how to build a website that's based in WordPress, for example, et cetera. My experience with that is that you really just need 3 really good blog posts to get you started. The other thing, oh gosh, where do I start with this? I feel a little bit scattered with this question because I'm thinking, okay, are we trying to help your audience become an authority in their specific local community, an authority on, or are we helping your audience become an authority like on a global internet web world kind of way?
I think both would help, but I think probably a majority of the listeners would be interested in their geographical location of becoming an authority, but I certainly would, if you have thoughts about an international authority, I'm curious to hear that too.
So what I do is I pitch, and as therapists, it's so funny. Sometimes as therapists, we think, but the therapist side of me doesn't want to do this business thing. And the business side of me isn't jamming with my therapist side or whatever. And I really, truly believe that our therapeutic skills are what makes us better business people out there in the real world. And so I'll give you an example. What I'll do is I will pitch a local networking group or a local continuing ed provider and let them, first I start off with acknowledge or attend some of these continuing ed networking events or whatever, and then start off an email with an acknowledgement, shake people's hands, let them know, hey, I have a pitch for you and I would love to speak for your group, and this is why here, and then position yourself and kind of talk about why you're the authority. Maybe you have written a really helpful blog post about this particular topic, or maybe you have given other presentations, or maybe you have just had experiences with your clients that kind of places you as an authority on this topic in serving this particular client or in using this particular technique, right? And so I think just sending them your pitch and just expecting people to say no and being okay with that and moving on and saying, okay, next we'll try another place. We'll try another platform where I can be established as an authority. The great thing about speaking though, and I'll be honest, I never ever thought I would be a speaker and a writer. And here I am, I've turned into one because growing up, I was always shy and quiet. And, when I go to a conference, the time alone in my hotel room is sacred, right? I love just, I love just being quiet and in the dark. But, the thing is, when you're speaking about what you're really passionate about, or when you're speaking from your heart or something that you really believe in, then all the fears around, speaking in front of people usually kind of just dissolve or kind of dissipate because you're speaking from your heart. And I think sometimes it takes some soul searching. So for me, for instance, it took some soul searching. Well, what is my big message and what can I always lean back on when I'm in front of a group of people and I, zone out, or I forget why I'm there, or I'm get nervous, or I'm not sure what to say, or I'm not sure if I am the authority. Maybe I'm really an imposter, right? So I always lean back on, why am I here? Why am I here? And my why is very clear. It's that I believe you are music, and it's an integral part of your health and happiness. So whatever your why is, maybe it's, maybe it has to do with the population you're serving specifically. Maybe it has to do with, stroke patients or, whatever you got going on that you're really, really passionate about. I think, if you can just let that shine through, then it becomes contagious and people will book you to speak for their group.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think there's really very few natural speakers out there who just love speaking. I think you can grow into that, certainly, and it sounds like you have, but you have to master the craft. You have to practice, and so you just start small. I always suggest people, approach, if you go to church, approach the church you go to. They're usually pretty forgiving if you mess up.
Great idea.
So start small.
Safe space. Yeah, find a safe space. The church would be perfect. Yeah.
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 So that's a good tip. I like the tip of, your purpose. Why are you there? And that's going to bring your focus back to your fire, to make you excited about presenting there in front of those people. That's very good information. I appreciate that. Now I know you've written for some prominent periodicals and magazines. How did you approach those companies?
So, the same way. And actually I took this course, which might be of interest to your audience. It's called Rock the Media School for Therapists, actually. It's at rockthemediaschool.com, and it's taught by Dr. Julie Hanks. She is an LCSW and PhD in something I can't remember, but so she is all over the media. She's like the go-to for CNN and all these huge networks. Just contact her, and she teaches you how to approach media. So what I learned in her course is how to approach the Huffington Post, how to approach the Wall Street Journal or Forbes or wherever you'd like to get published. And so what I learned is whenever you're sending a pitch by email, for instance, after your signature, make sure you have a bullet point, like a bullet point bio. So you can see, in fact, Scott, the pitch I sent to you.
I still have it.
Okay, cool. Well, I have kind of the,
You have bullet points. I have it right here in front of me.
Okay, great. The format I used was really you got to get to know this. If you're approaching an editor, for instance, for the Huffington Post, or you might want to approach Ariana herself, right? You just start with an acknowledgement, and then you position yourself. And then you talk about your why statement. And by the way, you can learn more about how to find your why through Simon Sinek. I love his work. Simon Sinek does this amazing TED Talk on finding out like your purpose and how to articulate that. And then continuing to position yourself by stating, oh, I also have media experience in this space, in this space, in this space. I've been on the news, or I've been on Wall Street Journal, or I've been wherever you've been, right? And letting them know, by the way, you're going to have fun interviewing me if you'd like to interview me, or you're going to have fun publishing my work if you're going to publish me. And then giving them your cell phone number, letting them know that they have full access to contact you. Then what I do is I just put the signature, and then I end it with a bullet point bio. So that can describe how many years experience you have. It can also describe, some of your work. Who have you worked with before in the past? Mine includes, the drum circles that I've provided. So for instance, the U.S. Surgeon General has sat in on my drum circle. I've done it for the Americans for the Arts, NAMM, which is the National Association of Music Merchants, Museum of Making Music, Qualcomm and Intuit have also hired me to come in and do drum circles. So this is all in my little bullet point bio, right? Yeah, so there's a format that you can follow, and it's really helpful because so now I just kind of have this format that I send to whoever I'm pitching, and I just make it, I adapt this template and I just make it specific to the particular source that I'm pitching. Most recently, I haven't been published in it yet, but I pitched Forbes. And after I used this format for the pitch, literally the writer wrote me back in 5 minutes and letting me know. And this actually happened last Friday. When you get like a tingly feeling all through your body and you what? So he wrote me back and he said, I would love to potentially cover your piece, but this is what's missing, and this is what's missing, and this is what's missing. Let me know if you can fill in those gaps. And so I'm in the process of like filling in those gaps so that he can publish my work on Forbes, right? So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So I think having the template is really helpful. I just go to one of my old emails and copy and paste, and then make sure that it suits that particular. It can even go for local, something local that you're pitching. If you're in touch with someone who books speakers for a circuit or for a particular series,
Well, it's sort of like a short version of a resume. Being in private practice, we have to hire other therapists or other staff. Well, you wouldn't hire them without a resume. And so if you send someone an email without explaining, it is tooting your horn, but you have to toot your horn just to let people know, here's who I am. So that's the purpose of it. And it's when I read it, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool right here. She's included all this information about her, and that helps me know who Kat is.
Cool. Yeah. And there is this introverted side of me that's kind of, it kind of hurts to send out something that toots my horn so much. But then, I always turn back to my why. Well, my passion. Well, I've got to get the word out about what I'm passionate about. So everything is aligned. And it's kind of like, well, there's a difference between the people who experience fear or are held back by this, that, and the other and don't move forward. And then the people who experience fear and sometimes are held back, but they just move forward anyway, right? I think that those are two types of people in the world, because everybody has like fears or things that set you back or things that hold you back. And the difference is whether you let it keep you frozen or whether you just keep moving forward anyway.
Yeah. I'm always reminded of, I was telling my kids I was going to go, give a talk about autism and, what our private practice can do for clients who are autistic. And my kids were like, well, you don't like to do public speaking, Dad. Why are you doing that? And I was like, that's exactly why I'm doing it, because I don't like doing public speaking. But if I do it enough, Hopefully I'll like it, but at least I'll get better at it. So you have to be uncomfortable.
You are such a good dad. That's so sweet. I love it. I love your dad stories. This is so great. It's like moral lessons, life lessons with Scott. I love that. I love that. And you know what? Your kids will look up to you so much more too. And what a great example you're setting for them. So then they can transfer that to their own life where they feel sometimes it's what we're most afraid of that is really the thing that we just must do because there's a deeper, stronger, bigger picture. That's beautiful, Scott. I love that. I love that story.
Thank you. I want to go back to marketing. You had mentioned you did some marketing early on and you continue to do marketing. What are some good marketing tips that you have for us?
Okay. Where do I start? This is something that's really fresh on my mind because I just opened up a clinic space for the first time. So I've been in practice for 10 years and we've just opened up a new space. And when you first open a clinic space, sometimes there are no clients yet coming into the clinic space. We do outreach. We go to facilities. We go to medical hospitals. We go to skilled nursing facilities and so forth, right? And then this speech therapy agency that also rents space. We actually rent space from what's called the O Center, Opportunity, Achievement, and Success Center. And in the center, there's speech therapy, ABA, there's OT, there's PT, there's educational therapy. There's all sorts of other cool stuff going on. Well, so one thing that we've done for marketing this particular piece of our private practice, which is fresh on my mind, and it's really good I'm able to talk about this, is we have free events. And so as music therapists, something that's really an easy thing to do for a free event for us is to have a community drum circle. So we do a community drum circle every first Wednesday of the month at 6:30, and we're doing one tonight. So my idea was that there are three things that need to happen with this clinic space. Number one, we need to just get people in the door, even if it's for something that's free, just so they can see, so they can get accustomed to coming into our door. Number two is letting our current clients that we know that we have this new space and inviting them down. And then also number three is letting the people, our clinic is it's in a little walkable neighborhood. So it's a little neighborhood called Kensington, and there is a little business, like a business section of maybe 5 or 6 blocks of all these businesses and storefronts, and we're one of those. And then outside of that, it's all residential. So the third thing, we need to let all the residents know that we exist and you can come by. So those are the things we've been focusing on. We've also been focusing on giving presentations and being vendors at health fairs. We've also focused on building relationships and partnerships with the current PTSD, OT, behavioral, ABA, all these other therapists that are in our space so that we can all kind of pass referrals around to one another. And, gosh, what else have we done? We've created so many flyers, let me tell you, because we've got all these free events, on a monthly basis. The drum circle is pretty huge. Trying to think of what else. We have changed our private practice website to tailor to only the clinic. So basically, if someone in the community goes to our website, then they can automatically register for music therapy or music lessons. We also do music lessons, or they can automatically register on our website. So before, our website was tailored towards people in the community, healthcare professionals or administrators of programs within the community, and letting them know that, we travel to you. And now we've totally switched it around because we don't want to travel as much. We want people to come to us. And so our website is tailored to exactly the type of person that we want in our clinic. And so specifically for our clinic, it's really moms and dads of kids who have special needs. And also we do early childhood. So it's really centered around, it's really targeting parents. So we're going to events that, we're going to family events within the community, and we're speaking and we're being vendors and all that good stuff. So hopefully that kind of helps.
Yeah.
There are a ton of other things that you can do, and these are the activities that these are the things that we're actively engaged in right now. So it's kind of fresh and off the top of my head without having to dig too deep. So hopefully that helps.
Well, and I think a lot of times therapists or just small business owners in general, they get frustrated because they go to the health fair, they go to put on a free event, and then they don't see an instant 100% increase in referrals. But it's, in my mind, it's good that you're keeping presence of mind of that you exist in front of those people. Yeah. And I'd read somewhere that it takes 5 to 8 presentations, or someone seeing you or seeing your business before they actually say, oh yeah, they do exist over there and I can do business with them because I have that need. So that's kind of sort of the thing of branding. Just Coca-Cola can run a commercial and they don't have to say anything, but it's Coca-Cola because of their branding. So it's just presenting yourself over and over in different settings in different ways. It keeps presence of mind.
Absolutely, 100%. And also, optimizing those events where, maybe you have a giveaway or something where you can capture people's email addresses. So we do that. We definitely have this idea of the kind of the ideal pathway for someone to travel to get to know us. Like, okay, they don't know us at all. Okay, they come to a free event. Okay, they come to another free event and they decide, okay, well, I want to get notices about these free events. I want to get on your email list. So they get our emails. Then we nurture them through our newsletters on email. So we build a relationship with them over email as well. They continue to come, and then they're like, oh, you know what? I'm in a place where I'd love to sign up my child for music therapy, or, gosh, I keep coming to your clinic and I keep thinking of my friend. So they become a referral source, right? Every time I come into your clinic and participate in this great free event that you offer, I keep thinking of my friend who has a child who has autism and how great it would be if they could come. Okay, so then they invite that family for the next one, or maybe they encourage that family, oh, you got to get on their email list. And then we nurture that family through the email list. And then in the email list, in the email newsletter, of course, we always have opportunities for people to work with us and sign up for a package of sessions and so forth. So that's kind of the ideal path for someone to go from not knowing who we are at all to becoming a regular client of us.
Yeah, you're building momentum there. That's very good. Now, you mentioned collecting people's email, which brings me to a question that I wanted to ask about website tips. On your musictherapyed.com, you have a course personally that you did about WordPress. What is a must-have as far as a website for a private practice?
Well, I love WordPress, and it's WordPress.org, not WordPress.com. I know WordPress.com has undergone some changes and things, but I really like WordPress.org. It's a software that you actually install onto your hosting. You pay for hosting separately, and then you install WordPress software, which is through WordPress.org, and then you have a theme, and then you have plugins and all this stuff. I also, honestly, I have a developer on call too. Ever since, I've built a ton of websites, but now I've gotten to the point where, I do so much speaking and other stuff that I don't even have time to maintain my own websites all the time. So I've gotten to this point where, okay, I got a developer on call. So, and I built a relationship with him. I think that when you're building your website, make sure that you have an opt-in. Make sure that you have something that, like, for instance, if you have our private practice website is soundhealthmusic.com. Now, over there, in order to sign up for The Beat, which is our San Diego newsletter, you can, the value of signing up for The Beat is getting updates on our free local events. So you got to figure out, well, what would my most ideal client most benefit from getting from me that is of value to them. And we determined that the best thing that we can offer to our most ideal client are updates on our free events. And so whether you want to give like 5 tips from a speech therapist that you can take home with you and use during dinner, or swallow tips that you can take home with you, or anything that has to do with your expertise, and then putting it together. Maybe you do free events at your clinic, or maybe you do free workshops on a regular basis, or whatever it is, to inspire people who come to your website to sign up for your email list. I think that's a really, really important thing, because so many websites are just there. And then it's like, well, what if I want to stay updated on what you do? I think what you do is so great, but there's no way that I'll be able to stay up to, I just have to keep visiting the website on a daily basis to see if anything changes. That doesn't make sense, because out of sight, out of mind. And so you actually do want to capture the information of your website visitors so that you can nurture that relationship with them on a long-term basis. So if you're in business for the long term and you're committed to building long-term, loyal, loving clientele, or base of clients, then you've got to have this bigger picture, long-term strategy. And one of the best ways to do that is to capture emails in some way, shape, or form.
Well, and I definitely agree with that. I have that on my started therapy practice website, and also on my private practice website. But I want to mention that you might put an opt-in freebie up there, and it might not work. People might not be interested in whatever your opt-in that you created. That's happened to me before. Yes. So then you just move on to the next thing. You don't give up, because there's something that's going to attract their attention. And you have a good one in that yours is geographically centric to your area as far as the newsletter, what's going on in that geographical space. So I encourage people to figure out, how do you geographically help those people coming to your website to make it interesting and helpful to them. So it sounds like you've done a good job with that.
Thanks. We really want to turn our web connections into in-person, shaking hands, giving hugs kind of connection. So if someone is following us on Facebook, then we really want them to come into the clinic so that we can see you face to face and have this in-person connection. And we really want to, actually, everybody, all the therapists on board at the O Center where we're located, we all want to be this busy, bustling, wonderful, safe, awesome place for kids to go and feel free to express themselves. And so we're all kind of on the same page about that. So our biggest thing, the cool thing is that, hey, if somebody doesn't care to meet us in person or doesn't care to come out and see our clinic, then they won't get on the email list, and we don't want the email list. And that's great. We only want people on the email list who want to come in and meet us and greet us and see us in person. And honestly, our email list for our private practice way smaller than our email list for our product side, our music therapy ed, because music therapy ed is like an online product, where our connections, the relationships are online. If we meet them at a conference, that's great, but that's not the goal. The goal there is to help them become VIP subscribers, where the goal for our private practice is really to build these personal relationships with the community.
Before I forget, I wanted to also go back to a point that you made, and you probably weren't aware that you made it, but you have different, I call it revenue diversity. As far as your private practice, it's not just we do music therapy. I mean, you've seen a need at some point that people want music lessons, and so you're like, all right, we can give that too. Whereas that's not necessarily the main thing that your private practice does. It is a thing that you provide. So I always try to emphasize that to private practice owners. You can get outside the box of just doing one-on-one therapy and use your skills in different ways to generate revenue and to help out the local community.
I love that you brought that up. And, it was a big decision that we made when the team and I sat down and I asked them the question, what do you guys think about this? And they both were like, yeah, that's a great idea. But I love that you brought that up, because I think the important part is to stay married to your mission and to your vision. Don't stay married to your commodity. I forgot where I learned this. It's some famous book or some famous speaker who said this out loud. So it's not my own, but don't be married to your commodity. Be married to your mission and your vision. So if our mission and our vision is to enable and empower people of all abilities and all ages in order to express themselves through music, right? Or if my big message is you are music, it is an integral part of your health and happiness. Well, that doesn't mean that I am just a music therapist and I only offer music therapy services. Oh, you're a typically developing child who's 12 years old who would like to learn the piano. Oh, you'll have to go elsewhere for that. It's like, no, we can do it. It's aligned. If you'd like to come and take piano lessons with us, it is totally aligned with our mission and our vision, which see what I'm saying? So,
yes.
It's funny. I actually coach music therapy business owners too. And I'll tell you, I was working with someone who was approached by another healthcare professional in her area, and the healthcare professional asked her, so can you do drum circle facilitation training for a group of us rec therapists, right? And her immediate response was, no, but let me tell you the difference between drum circle facilitation and music therapy, and why drum circle facilitation is not music therapy. Okay, let me just make that clear. And I'm like, oh no, why did you do that? So we had to do the deep work of going back to, what is your mission on earth? Why are you here? What is your vision for the world, for the future, right? And so the thing is, she's an excellent drum circle facilitator. So could she have offered that training? Absolutely, yes. But what got in the way was, she totally depositioned herself and made her not the authority. So it's just interesting. It's kind of like anything that has to do with music and healthcare is up our alley. So if you're a speech therapist, anything to do with speech, swallow, like maybe you're also a really good speaker, and maybe someone needs some coaching in speaking in front of groups. Well, you can say no if that's not aligned with your mission. But if it is aligned with your mission and your vision for like making the world a better place, then why would you say no to someone who needs some sort of coach to help them stop their stuttering in front of large groups of people, even if they're not diagnosed with a specific see what I'm getting at? So I love that you brought that up. You got to marry yourself to your mission, your vision, your why statement, and don't marry yourself necessarily to your commodity. Cause I feel like we're bigger than our commodity. I feel like music therapy services is great, and very helpful and, very much needed and in demand. I also feel like we are bigger than the label of music therapy, right? We're people. There are people behind that label.
Well, and if it's something you personally don't want to do, or maybe even opposed to it, you probably should bite your tongue and say, you know what? Just the music lesson, for example, you could say, I don't want to do that. It's really not my thing, but I could hire this graduate student over here who's in the music program over here at the university and
Yes.
pay them a little bit to do the lessons. So you could,
Yes.
it's still the theme, helping people, and it's within the umbrella of your private practice.
100%. Yes. And exactly. Like I would never teach. I told my team, I said, here's an opportunity we have to offer lessons. I'm going to tell you guys, my decision is no, I'm not going to teach lessons, but I want to put that on the table and offer it to you. If you want to, I want to hear a yes or a no. No maybes, no, oh, let me think about it. I just want to hear, yes, I want to teach lessons, or no, I don't want to teach lessons. And they got very clear and they both said yes. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Because if you couldn't teach lessons, then we'd have to hire somebody else, because there's a demand and there are people asking for this service. And so we're going to fulfill it because it's aligned with our mission.
Well, Kat, we're going to have to end this here in a minute, but before we do that, if people wanted to get a hold of you, what would be the best way?
The best way to get a hold of me is through my headquarters website, which is catfulton.com. And you can fill out a contact form over there. You can send me an email. And I love being in touch with anybody and everybody who comes my way and comes into my world. Of course, I'm all over Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all that too. But really, my headquarters is over at catfulton.com, where you can find all the links to all my other stuff.
Excellent. And I'll put links to all that in the show notes. And I appreciate it so much, Kat, joining me today.
Oh, it's been such an honor to get to know you better, Scott, and get to know your audience and share my story. So thank you so much for having me on your show.
Oh, you're very welcome. We'll talk to you later then.
Okay, bye, Scott.
Hey, that was a lot of fun. Be sure to check out our website, catfulton.com. That's KATFULTON, catfulton.com. And all of the links that we mentioned today will be over at startatherapypractice.com/48. And don't forget my website rebuild. Super excited about it. Be sure to check that out. And until next time, Godspeed to you and to your private practice.